Hello, welcome back. Hello, everyone. Yes, we have been away for a couple of weeks, and things are happening there. So it is lovely to be back. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I can just see the chat has jumped straight alive there on my system. So, hello, everyone. As usual, don't forget the Discord. That would be lovely. We're doing a bit of housework there now. That would be fantastic. The main thing, because Lazy Boy here hasn't put any questions, 4 questions. That's it. So if you want a question asked by our esteemed guests, that's it. Put a capital Q, then type in your question, and that would be fantastic. It makes me be able to find it straight away. So what I'm going to do now is just press Q in return, and then I can see we've got some actual questions in. So please do that. That would be fantastic. Let's say hello to our guests. There you go.
Hello.
There you go. Now, Jesse's standing in for Steve for a few weeks there. So, Jesse, big thank you. Thank you very much. Steve's getting himself sorted out. So, Jesse, it is an honour and a pleasure to have you sitting in the big man's seat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are you well, Jess? Are you good? Are you gardening? Is everything going all right?
Yeah, really well. I was just recording today, and I was like, I can't believe it's halfway through May already. It's
I
just nuts.
I know. So, Jess, I mean, you're kind of tropical down in the kind of the southern end. Are you frost free now? Are you 100% sure you're frost free?
Yeah.
Not a chance.
I mean, every time I've said something on here, I've been like, no, we don't get that. Then instantly I get it. So I'm not really going to say anything. But I think 21st of March is supposed to be our last frost date, and we're quite considerably past that. So unless there's some major problem. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm hoping, bloody, I've got all my eggs in one basket now, kind of up there in the polytunnel there. Audrey, how are you doing, girl? Nice to see you.
Great. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Lovely. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. So Detroit, there, the strangest weather system on the face of the planet for gardening.
Yes.
Are we settled into a natural rhythm now? Are we good to go? Is it?
Yeah,
summer?
we're well past. No, it's not. Well, tomorrow is going to be summery. We are well past the last frost date. The biggest thing now is getting my tomatoes hardened off, and they don't like it if it goes below 50, which is 10 for you guys. So I'm pulling them back in because we're still going down to the 40s at night. So just a little shuffling with the tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. It has been, Audrey. I think it has been that for us, like, the kind of the north of England there. Just a little bit of kind of shuffling and a little bit of like watching your phone app, you know what I mean? But it seems now like the 10-day one, it's getting higher and higher into that, you know what I mean? So,
yep.
I mean, I'm hoping that's the case for Mark there, because I've just seen a site that, most ladies and most men would croon at, and a Scottishman's knees, my God, there.
In my shorts. Over 10 degrees, shorts are on.
Yes. Well, just, Mark, what's your weather like then? Are you kind of safe as well? Because you're even higher.
Ish, yeah. I thought I was, but then last night, yesterday was absolutely beautiful. It's a cracking day up here. But last night, the temperature was down to around about 4 degrees. Inside the greenhouse, I went down and checked it this morning. It was about 7 degrees in there overnight. And again, tonight and tomorrow night, we're supposed to be down to, again, about 3 or 4 degrees still. But then after that, it looks like temperatures are back up overnight, sort of creeping back to sort of 8, 9 degrees, I'm hoping. So hopefully after that, if it stays like that for a little while, maybe think about putting some stuff in the polytunnel.
Have you got nothing in kind of the polytunnel, or are you chancing you look?
No, nothing. Yeah, I've moved the chilies. So the chilies are out in the greenhouse.
The what? The what?
The greenhouse.
The greenhouse.
The fully functioning built greenhouse is out there, but everything else, well, nearly everything else. There's still a few rather sad-looking tomato plants in there, but everything else is inside.
So I forgot all about the bloody greenhouse. Get us up to speed, Mark, because the last time we spoke, they didn't bring the little hooks for the base to the actual, and you hadn't opened your glass. Was your glass all right?
It was perfect. It was. I tell you what really helps with the glass as well. If you put the bits in the right order and follow the instructions, that really helps. So when you get to the end and you've got mismatching bits left, you think, these bits don't fit in this then you've got to go and take the bit out the back and put it in the front where it was meant to go. That really, really helps if you do it that way around.
So,
But it's all built. It's done.
well, you've got the horse one, the same as me and Soph. So
Yes.
on a, like I say, a build quality,
Yes.
what would you rate it out of 10?
Oh, brilliant. 9, 10 out of 10. I mean, it's,
Right.
it's solid. It's absolutely rock solid at the moment. And I've just bought a thingy, a auto vent window
yeah.
opener thing. Not a one-off. Halls were trying to sell them for 50 quid.
I bought one.
I got one
off
off Amazon. 20 quid.
Oh, I
off
know.
Amazon.
I know.
Exactly the same.
Uh-huh.
Took it on. Magic. Absolutely brilliant.
It's still in the box for me. I still haven't got, because I'm thinking I'll just step out and open the window. You know what I mean? Like
it's a faff, like
retiree mark. You know what I mean? You know, there's time on me.
Like for Riley.
So, as a company, then, Mark, because they did cock up a few times with you. You know what I mean?
Aye.
What would you and instructions? How would you rate them 1 to 10?
I mean, the instructions, I'd just give it a flat 1 out of 10. You know, they were shocking. They were awful. I found a really old video from a different company on YouTube, and it was like this Dutch guy, I think it was, and he's building a greenhouse, a totally different brand it was called, but it looked identical to the Halls ones, and these videos were brilliant and so helpful, but the instructions were, well, you know yourself, the instructions are awful.
It's just it's
Terrible.
painful,
But
to be honest.
Halls themselves were pretty good, to be fair. I mean, I know there was a couple of bits missing and stuff like that, but they were dead good. When I spoke to them, and they shipped them straight away, they came next day. So they were brilliant to getting the bits back out to us. So yeah, I'd recommend them overall. It's one of these things, you know, they're going to send out so many greenhouses and stuff like that. There'll always be one or two that's got a couple of bits
But actually,
missing,
you made a good point, Mark, and it was, I don't know if we've kind of mentioned this. You know, it says like British built, but they're coming from, your parts came from different parts of the world. Is that right?
The base comes from Scandinavia somewhere. I can't remember which Scandinavian country it was. And then the actual greenhouse frame itself was they said the Far East. So I'm assuming it's manufactured in China and then shipped over. But because they package it together over here, they can say, "Oh, we're selling British greenhouses," but all the bits come from everywhere else.
There we go. Well, happy growing, Mark. I mean, it's like, it is once you get them, do you know what I mean? It's kind of, it's just like, it's cheating almost. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you can kind of control like a much easier environment.
It's such a nice place to be as well. Just go down in the greenhouse. It's lovely in there.
In your underpants. First thing in the morning there. Right then. Let's. David Mosley is asking, Jess, I'll come to you first. Has any of the team tried spooning their onions? This is a real thing. Now,
it is.
I haven't. Right. Jess, I haven't heard of spooning the onions there. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. Just not.
I mean, my onions are in a bed, but I don't think I would fit in there as well.
Well, Audrey, do you know what spooning the onions are then?
Yes.
Right.
It's where you, as the onions start bulbing up, you spoon dirt away. Like you literally take a spoon and you dig away dirt from the bulb so that it bulbs up bigger.
So are you saying are we saying the soil prevents the bulb getting bigger?
That's the theory. That's
right.
The theory. So some people take a spoon and go, and I think this is a very kind of historic thing that used to happen.
Right.
With the onions. I've never needed to do it. I've never done it. I kind of go, they're a bulb. They're going to do what they got to do, and they push out nicely. But yes, I have definitely heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I might have a go. There's a video there, anyways, isn't it? You know what I mean? You got to think of like content. when there's a drought of content, there's a good video. Mark, would you attempt it then? I don't, because by the look on your face, you haven't heard of spooning onions.
No, I've heard of it, but I've heard it's slightly different to Audrey's, where as well as pulling back a little bit of the soil, some people scrape back a bit of the skin. So you know, you get the brown skin sort of forming on the onion, that just where it meets the green stem, you sort of scrape a bit back on there, and again, it just helps it to to grow out a bit, and you should only ever do it after the frost is gone. So once your frost state's gone, don't ever do it when there's still a risk of frost, because obviously that can get into the onion then, because the skin's there to protect it. But yeah, just scraping the skin back as well as moving the soil back. Never done it, and again, no intention of doing it unless it makes good content.
See, I would be frightened, Mark, to kind of fiddle with the actual bulb,
Aye.
you know, in case I like damaged it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like, I don't know. I like the idea of Audrey's mine. You're just kind of scratching it away. You know what I mean? Like the soil and that. Jess, what do you think? Is it a viable method, do you think?
I mean, I've never heard of like unearthing your onions as they're going. It's normally like earthing things up, isn't it? But yeah, I suppose it's worth a go. I've got a whole bed of onions this year that I've never had before, so probably half of them are now going to be half naked, probably.
Jess, have you got onion white rot on your plot or not? Yeah, all right. I have as well. So
awful.
Oh, I know, because you don't know until you pull. They look lovely, and then you think, oh, what a messy, gungy mess. Mind, Jess, I still kind of just take them off, cut that crappy off, and then use that onion straight away. Do you know what I mean?
As long as you don't need to store them and you're not grossed out by like onion slime, you can sort of get away with it. I mean, I'm growing all of my garlic and shallots in like planters this year with compost rather than in our actual soil, and hoping to get away with it. But yeah, in beds, it's really bad.
Well, it's funny, Jess, because I've done that with. I watched Charlie Dowden once, and he starts putting his garlic in his polytunnel. And now I did that for a couple of years. Great bulbs, but there's white rot in there. So this is the first year where I've put them. I've got some outside, but I've put like a planter with just compost in the polytunnel and see if I don't know if it'll kind of get into that compost or not, just to see what they're like. But at this moment, they look better outside. I don't know if it's because it's more rain and I've missed watering or something like that, but they look a little bit better, the ones outside. Are yours outside or inside?
Yeah, they're in pots, but they're outside.
And what do they look like?
They look really healthy.
Right.
It's a bit alarming. Like normally by now they've started to go, because we've also got allium leaf miner. So by now we'll started to get a bit twisty. But yeah, they're looking absolutely perfect at the moment. And I think I've got allium leaf miner on the onions that are actually in the bed, but they don't seem to have found the ones that are not in the soil. So fingers crossed.
I must have allium. Are you saying like the onion, it kind of separates and goes a little bit, like the stalk?
Like it's the top growth. You can see it. It goes, it's not beautiful and straight. They just start having sort of odd kinks in the foliage. And yeah, that's the leaf miner.
Like, it's so fucking annoying. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, give us a break, man. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, just a one break with the onions. But it's just on a couple of things. And will you eat like the onion from an onion, like the leaf miner, or is it totally destroyed? Or
you can't keep them, you can't store them, a bit like with the white rot. But yeah, you can just eat them. They're fine. It's normally, I get it worst in leeks. They're really, because the leeks are in the ground for such a long time, they really mature. So you get quite dark. Like, if you catch it early, you wouldn't even know there'd be leaf miner in there apart from the curly leaves. But when the leeks have been in the ground for a really long time, you tend to get like black. They look like little cocoon grubs in the layers of the leek.
Right.
That's not a problem. Just eat them.
I was talking, Jess, one of my videos was about the white cabbage whitefly, and I seen, and there was like drifts of it in me leaf. You know what I mean? Like just dead casts and shells, and it's just like, once I get into cauliflowers, you know what I mean? You cut a cauliflower, they're deep in. Although they're dead and you try washing it out, it's just do you know what I mean? It's just, man. I don't know if I'm just getting cockly in me, you know what I mean? But I just want a clean bit of veg. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, also, I must have now then. Onion.
I don't mind when it's for me, like I'm a bit, but like when you've got a glut of something and somebody's like, oh yeah, I'll take some of your, I don't know, Cavallonero or something. And you're looking at this Cavallonero and you're going, well, I would eat it, but it's like 2/3 insect. Does another person really want to eat it? And then it's like,
it's that, when you turn them over, the cabbage, or any kind of like brassica, and they've got you kind of get, you know what I mean? It's like all this like markings on it. Although there's no like, you've washed it, there's still that kind of scar stain, and you're thinking, oh, idiot.
Well, Tony,
as JB would go,
you do have to remember, though, that real food comes dirty.
I like it. I like
Just
it.
saying. Just
Yeah.
saying.
You know what I mean? I think we've got JB. You know what I mean? Watch my videos. Right. Free Crafty Creations is asking, I lost my cucumbers in March too. Had to reseed and hoping to get them out at the end of this week, next week. When would be the latest I can plant out for cucumbers in March 2? Well, I've just kind of put my March 2 in. I guess you can just go ages, yes. You know, just like you can resow if you had the loads of areas. You know what I mean? Mine's just popping up there now, so I would have thought bags of time with the March 2 and cucumbers as cucumbers. Jess, what would your advice to Phoebe?
Yeah, I've only just put my Monge 2 in now,
Uh-huh.
like this week. So I think you've got ages. I mean, you can go all the way to, it's got to be at least the end of June, I would have thought, for putting Monge 2 in, because they're so quick growing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't plant my cucumbers out. I only ever grow them in pots in the greenhouse or conservatory or something. So I wouldn't really know about planting them out. I don't know if they're really slow when they're outside. But in the greenhouse, yeah, you could probably still get away with sowing them now. So
Audrey, what's that like for you over there, March 2?
Actually, I am reseeding some outside. So I'm direct sowing some peas even this week. And I haven't even planted my cucumbers yet. So
When you say you haven't even planted, you've sown, but you haven't planted them
no,
out?
I haven't. No, I haven't sown them.
Oh,
I'm
right.
going to direct sow them outside.
Right.
Save a step.
Uh-huh. I tell you, that's a good idea when you
Well,
think just another obstacle.
Exactly. So but again, very different climate.
Very, very different, yes. Mark,
Yeah.
can you just grow March 2 up there in the Highlands?
Well, yeah, of course, kind of loads of time left.
Straight
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Have you got it in the shops up there? Have you got it on the shelves?
we've even got electricity, believe it or not. Yeah.
Oh.
It's amazing what we've
Wow.
got these days. Yeah, freeze-dried coffee, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, freeze dry, bloody hell!
I know, imagine that.
So-
I mean, I've got peas on the go at the moment in the greenhouse. They've only been in a couple of weeks.
Right.
They'll be getting chucked outside, I reckon, in the next week or two. Cucumbers as well. I've got cucumbers at different stages. So I did a couple ages ago, and they're massive. They're on the window ledge, and they're absolutely massive. And I sowed them far too early, but they're going to be the brave early adopters that go out to brave the cold and test the environment. I've got loads that are under the grow light at the minute. They've only been in. I've just potted them up actually, just at the weekend. There, they've been potted up into the bigger pots. And since I've done that, they've gone wild. So, again, another week or two, they'll be out in the polytunnel, I reckon. But loads of time left still. I mean, resow them, go for it. It's plenty of time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Jesse, I did your cucumber challenge, and it's just tonight. Actually, about 3 days ago, because it's probably up to there now. You know, like on the ground, kind of 5 foot. It slid all the way down. I've had about 4 or 5 nice cucumbers off it. But it slid all the way down my frame. And now my wife says, needs to go out. So I've just tonight put it in my greenhouse. So I'm hoping, and to be honest, it's been a bit neglected, if I'm honest. I kind of picked it up the day off the bench, ready, and it was as light as a feather. I thought, you haven't even worn that for bloody few days there, too. And so how I'm dying to find out with yours, Jess. How's yours been a success?
Success, but also neglected. Yeah, I know. Like, it's not a great setup downstairs, and it's just, as soon as you start piling stuff up, things get forgotten. And they are right at the very back, so they're having a hard life, but they're doing all right. Like, I've had loads of cucumbers off them.
Uh-huh.
We've got the little veg drawer in the fridge is absolutely stuffed full of cucumbers.
Right. So how many did you? How many did you grow?
Just the 2.
Right.
Just 2, but they're because they're Socrates, they're the little tiny cucumbers, so you're not waiting for them to grow massive. They're only getting to about this sort of size anyway.
Right.
So they, quick succession. But all of my, I sowed more Socrates and 4 other varieties, and I've only had 2 germinate. Like I had
Oh.
absolute wipeout on all the rest of the ones I sewed. So I'm going to have another go at sewing them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you've totally kind of, you know what I mean, because you know I'm a bit competitive, and I was trying, you know what I mean, trying to kind of, you've just totally, you know, I think I've had 3 cucumbers, and it's, you know what I mean, you could have like
Mine are not 5 foot tall. Mine are like they're still probably about 2.5 foot, 3 foot. Yeah,
but
they're
it's
still
it's like
short.
it's not helping, Jess. That's not helping. It's the volume of cucumbers that's kind of knocked us there. You know what I mean? So. Tracy Baker is asking, how do you get rid of woodlice from veg beds? Thanks. Now, I wouldn't have thought woodlice to me. You know what I mean? I lift me stones over and there's like oodles of them kind of there. They're not the things that I worry about, to be honest. It's when you lift stones or buckets or bits of plastic and stuff and you see slugs and snails. That's, to me anyways, that's not a problem. Woodlice, I don't know. Audrey, is woodlice a problem for you? Would you be worried if you had woodlice?
I am not sure I even know what a woodlice is.
Right. Now,
Honestly.
this is, obviously it's a different terminology, so I'm not, because you'll have them, I would have.
Well, I'm just going to look it
Slaters.
up, quite frankly. I'm going to go.
They get called slaters up here.
Slaters?
It's the same over there. Slaters, yeah.
Right.
That makes them
I
sound
don't know.
really.
I don't know why. Isn't it?
Yeah, but
I remember the prawn family. I heard. I don't know if someone was telling
Yeah,
us.
I think
All
they're
right,
supposed
right.
to taste fishy. I've seen them on, like, you know, you watch Bear Grylls or something like that.
Right.
And I think they eat the woodlice and they taste like prawns, apparently.
Oh,
Not that I want to try it, but, you know.
Oh, I think we call those roly-polies.
Oh, that's a
That
better
makes
name.
Roly poly.
Yeah. Really, because when you touch, when you touch them, they go into a ball, don't they?
You're right.
Yeah, those are roly-polies. I do not worry about those.
No, they only eat dead matter, don't they? I think. So
Yeah,
like
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're an issue.
Yeah, Tracy, I wouldn't. If it's a roly-poly you've got, or a Slaters, or a Jess, do you call them woodlice, Jess? Just like
woodlice, yeah.
Great.
Although I think I'm going to go with roly polies from now on.
It's much better.
Gosh, that's all we've ever called those.
All right, Jess, here's one for you. Sarah Walters, can Jesse say hello to my son Brandon as he's passed his electrical exam today and has had he's got a sweet spot for her. He's 19 and single.
Woo!
Well, there we go. Indeed.
I could with his mum. Hello, and congratulations on your passing the exam. That's amazing. Well done.
Yes, just Sarah, just send all the details. I'll pass it on to Jess there. That'll be fine. Right. Well, one of my little topics we were kind of talking about, like frost and everything, is anyone got the tomatoes planted out? Now, I've got my tomatoes in my polytunnel. I'm going to say 95% of them are in there now. My temperatures, touch wood desk here is looking okay for the next foreseeable future. So I've got actually some planted in the soil outside me, the Crimson Crush. Not planted in the polytunnel yet, but there's too many to bring down if there was a quick frost, so I'd have to fleece. So, Mark, I know I've seen your picture on our little kind of private chat, and we were just talking before. You haven't got yours planted in, but you've got your halos ready to rock. So you must be close to thinking, I'm going to bite the bullet.
Well, you would think so. if I hadn't managed to nearly kill pretty much all of my tomato plants. So there's been a little bit of an issue with some watering. And I think it's been overwatering as opposed to underwatering. So yeah, the polytunnel, it's got all the halo pots, and these halo pots, they're absolutely brilliant. If you look at my videos, there's Amazon affiliate links underneath. You can click on them and get the pots from there.
God loves a trier.
Wait till you see my electric bike. So
I'm drinking there, Mark. I'm getting choked on my drink.
So yeah, I've had a bit of a problem with watering, and I think I've overwatered them. Now there's one of two things. One is I've overwatered them so much that they've just decided they've had enough and they've packed in. But Steve and Digwell Greenfingers, I don't know if you know Steve's channel, he mentioned that sometimes you can get the compost so wet and so like claggy that there's loads of moisture there, but the roots from the plants can't actually get them. So I've had a bit of a torrid time with them, and all my tomatoes are looking a bit sad. And I went to the garden centre and I bought some backups just in case. But I potted them all on, and I've got to hold on a second. Let me show you an example here. Here we go. Look at that.
Oh, that's all right. Still, it's still.
look at the state of it.
Apart from apart from the dead leaves.
Right, hold on. Let's try this one right there. Let's try. Right, I'll try it again. Look at this.
Let's have a look.
Right. So I went. So there's a video. Not promoting videos, but there's another one coming out on Thursday because I tried just sort of potting them up. So in smaller pots and that, and I tried potting them up, and I'd put a load of compost around them and stuff like that. And I was testing them at the weekend. I've got a moisture meter thing that you stick in, and they were still so wet, and I was like, right. So they've all come out of the pots, all the old compost's gone. I've stripped them, all the compost back off the roots. It was still absolutely soaking right in the middle. And I got some new compost, load of vermiculite mixed in with it, into a new pot, and I've buried them really deep into the pot. So I'm hoping they'll recover. I mean, they might not. I mean, lesson learned.
The couple of questions then, Mark. How many do you let's count everyone. How many of them do you think's bad? Do you think are bad out of you? In a percent from 100, how many do you think
reckon, so the two sides of my polytunnel, I'll usually get about 15 plants either side. It's not all tomatoes though, because it gets split up into other things. So I probably had about 20-ish good tomato plants that I was bringing on.
Right.
I reckon I've probably lost, at the minute, at least between 6 and 8 at the minute, and we'll see if any more of them recover or not. We'll see. Happens to us all.
Well, yes. Well, to be honest, it was Jesse. What was it? 2 years ago or a year ago when you kind of the dodgy last year with the water kind of knocked yours. We found it might have been like the water board messing about. So, Mark, it happens. Do you mean how many backups did you buy from the garden centre?
Well, I bought 3. It was a special offer, you see. So I bought 3, and honestly, the best thing happened at the garden centre. I think I mentioned this in the chat. I was going down to the garden centre, right? Lovely garden centre. It's called Klondike Garden Centre along the road there, right? Got all the tomato plants, and this fella comes up to us. He goes, "Oh, I love your videos, by the way." And I was a bit like, "What?" Somebody recognised us in the garden centre. I thought it was the best thing ever.
And then he looked in your basket and he's like,
what are you doing? You're cheating.
You're cheating.
Your video had these.
So do you think them ones are going to, do they look like they're picking up then, Mark, or not? Or
some of them do. Like the sun gold ones actually look a lot more resilient than the others.
Right.
But some of the, what's annoying is I'm losing some of my like my fancy ones, like the Brad's Atomic Grape, the blue cream, I'm forgetting the other one. Your ones you can't buy in the shop.
Yeah,
you can't get anywhere else. They're the ones that are, they're giving up the ghosts.
It's funny because they are the kind of fickle ones. You know what I mean? If they're going to knock, it does seem like it's always them and the Shirleys and the other things.
Yeah. I should have gone for Crimson Kush.
Oh wow! I forgot all about that as well. Do you know what I mean? You've got the greenhouse, but the plants are getting. Dear me, kids.
Aye.
Jess, are we having a better year this year then with tomatoes?
Yeah, I had some pretty ropey germination though, which is weird for tomatoes. No, I can't remember how many varieties I thought I had right at the beginning. It was like 52 varieties or something of seed to choose from, and then I think I whittled it down to about 35, so 2 of each, and was just like, right, well, any that don't come up, I'm not growing them. I think I've ended up with about 20 varieties, unfortunately not including the 3 that I most wanted, so I'm going to have to resow them and hope for the best. Or try and beg them off somebody else. But
what was the 3 that you most wanted then, Jess?
Brad's Atomic Grape.
Right. Oh, they didn't germinate, right?
They didn't. I only had the 2 seed, and they
Oh.
were like right in the bottom of the packet, you know, so they were like the last ones that somebody had given me. And I'd obviously, they were like a bit crushed, so I wasn't convinced by them anyway, because I'd like had them packaged up badly. So I think they weren't going to come through anyway. And then my Japanese black truffelli didn't germinate.
Right.
So,
The ones you told us to go.
yeah, I know, the one that I've been raving about. So I had to resow them. Luckily, I got one out of that. So I'm going to just take a load of cuttings when, because I promised them to so many people, and then nothing happened. So I was like, pants. Going to have to take a lot of cuttings of those ones. But yeah, they're actually looking. Just, it's a joy to see them not dead like last year.
Well, fun. The Truffelli ones that they germinate great, just to be honest. And
Yeah.
I've kept out of how many, I don't know, I think you might have got 10 seeds in a packet. I've kind of made 3 my main ones, you know what I mean? Like the ones that kind of take through to hopefully through the season. So fingers, everything, honestly, like in that little greenhouse, everything's been great in there. It's just now's the, you know what I mean? It's down to me to kind of, you know what I mean, bring them on there now, and that's the danger zone. Do you know what I mean? Audrey, what about you? Because I know you were kind of, you actually. Oh, and I tell you what, Audrey, because it was Steve that sent over the atomic fusion ones. They're doing great now. They're the only ones that are left in me little greenhouse, but they're about probably. They could go up to the polytunnel now, so I'm chuffed to bits with them because they were the ones I wanted, and the orange accordion where I was desperate to get them to see the you know, like the end result.
Is that one growing for you too?
Yes, they're
good.
100% germination. I'll have yous know.
Well, my atomic fusion did not do anything.
Never.
So I'm actually thinking I'm going to sow a few more just to see if I can get 1 or 2 by the end of the year. Yeah.
Right.
The plants did not thrive at all. Could be user error. Might have missed a watering or 2, I'll be honest. But they just did not do well.
Right. So did they germinate, Audrey, did they?
Oh, yeah. That's why I think it's user error that they didn't make it.
Well, it's funny, mind you. I'll be honest. I'll tell you what it is, and it's another one I've just remembered there. It was the Black Moon ones that I got from Ian from Grown Local. I think it might be user error because I've got loads of shelving that had to go right on the bottom, and I don't know if they didn't get enough light or something. But hopefully now, because everything's out, but I think it's down to me as well, user error, because they're just like that. But
yeah, when they're little, they require like good attention.
Yeah.
You know,
mine was user error. I had them in like little long seed trays, and they weren't on an even surface. So one end of the seed tray got really well watered, and the ones that were on the end of every seed tray dried out like continuously. So I think, yeah,
it's like when you think about it, you know what I mean. You kind of why the hell did
I didn't realise it was wonky. It was in the table downstairs, which you assume is going to be flat, but I'd shoved it to one end of the conservatory, and it had gone like its edge had gone over the window ledge, so it just tilted itself up, and then I didn't even notice. So
yeah.
We can all make mistakes. So, my next little kind of topic, I was just wondering if is anyone, because I'm starting to see them there now. They've been hammering or been affecting I put out some Brussels sprouts there, which they must love. Slugs and snails. Are we starting to see slugs and snails, Jessie? Are you getting any slugs and snails down on your land yet?
I mean, so far, no.
Do you often get hit by them, Jess?
Yeah, really badly. But so far, I mean, most of the stuff that I've actually planted out so far has been planted out through mulch, and the mulch itself has got a really dry, crumbly top surface. So unless they're already like in underneath, they're not going to get to them. But I mean, it's only a matter of time. They'll find their way in there. But the beds themselves, like I said before, is that it's such dry soil, it's like dust, that they don't tend to live really deep in the soil because it's so dry.
Right. Jess, what is then, your biggest pest down on your allotment then?
God, the list is endless.
I thought you'd went offline there. You know what I mean? Because you just kind of, too many.
Yeah, I think probably like the ones that in of small stuff rather than like, I don't know, a badger or something. It's definitely going to be the slugs and the snails. Having raised beds as well doesn't really help really with the slug situation, because it gives them somewhere to hide along the edge of the grass.
Oh, that's right, because you've got grass, so they're just
Yeah, grass up to the wooden edge of the bed. But I think, I mean, personally, the advantages of it outweigh the fact that you get slugs around the edge. But that is like a bit of an issue. But when you're going around with the strimmer, you do get a bit of a paste of slugs kind of appearing at the edge.
and just like splashing on you as well.
Oh,
Oh. Audrey, what's your biggest pest then over there in good old Detroit?
well, squirrels for sure. That is my biggest pest. And I would say the white cabbage moth or butterfly, whatever we call that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my two biggies. Yeah, squirrels are horrible here.
So you haven't got a problem with squirrels. I guess there's not even a thing you could do with squirrels, mind you. They're so like inventive to
You
get
can
the
shoot them.
Can we just have a bleep button? We're live.
I know. I have no. I don't understand their purpose in the food chain, other than to irritate everyone. So
we just shoot them. That's the answer of the night. Just shoot them. No problem.
Well,
there. Not even a worry.
I know. I try not to though, but I wish I could.
And what do you use for the cabbage whitefly then? Do you like?
Oh, this year I'm gonna try everything, because last year they really they hurt my soul last year with the damage they did. So and honestly, if it doesn't work this year, I think I will just stop growing brassicas.
Right.
Because it just breaks my heart. Like, you put all this work in and you nurture these little plants, and then the caterpillars of these things just eat it down to a nub.
Oh, do. Would you consider then just using spray, Audrey, like a kind of chemical spray, or was that because this is what I'm planning
I
to do.
I prefer not to. Because if I want to do that, I can go buy it at the grocery store, and that's all got that on it. So I prefer not to.
So you'd rather not grow them? Wow, that's a kind of.
Well, I'm just getting to that point. Like, you know what?
Could you not? I mean, we've got over here. Well, I guess you've got it over there. We call it scaffolding netting. Could you not just? And that's what I'm finding is like the best deterrent. You know what I mean? It's like scaffolding netting.
Right. I know I net them, but somehow one at least gets inside, if not two, and then they breed more white cabbage butterflies, and and then the whiteflies show up and the aphids, and I'm like, why do you guys always like the most common of all vegetable garden items? I mean, brassicas are like 30, and then there's all these other few things that we grow. So I just, I don't know. I feel like I'm done. If that's
it does sound like that, mind you. I've had enough.
I've been gardening for a long time, and it's never changed. They just seem to get worse. So, I don't. So I don't need to sound like doom and gloom. I'm just like, I'm going to go all in this year and see if we can win. And if we win at least a couple, I'd probably do it again. So
and just shoot the squirrels. The squirrels.
Well, no. My theory is you actually find a dead one and you put it on a skewer in the lawn with a sign that says, "This is what happens to squirrels in this backyard."
What will they go for then, Audrey? What will they? This is gold dust. This, What will your squirrels eat?
What won't they eat?
Wow.
They're really good at just nibbling a little bit, like on the squash, winter squash. Oh my goodness, they'll just nibble a little bit, just enough for you to know there's rabies inside the squash, and then they'll go to the next one. I'm like, why don't you just eat one whole squash and stop? So they just, they take them out. They'll nibble at strawberries, not strawberries, tomatoes if they're in a low enough bed. Yeah, they're horrible, horrifying little animals.
So just
Yeah.
enlighten us then. I'm a bit lost here then, Audrey. Do squirrels carry rabies? Or is that just a kind of... Do they
Oh,
carry some...
I can't imagine there would be one that doesn't.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
I mean, any wild animal, I would think there's a good shot. But I'm not going to just cut the bad part off a squash and then eat it after I know a squirrel's been at it. No.
Oh, that'd be all right, man.
No.
Flashback of today, I've been at the moment, like, filming a squirrel having a drink out of my pond and being like, oh, isn't it beautiful? No.
No. They're rats, essentially. They just have a fuzzier tail. So...
No love lost there then, eh? On the squirrel.
No, I used to think they were cute, and now I don't.
Mark,
They destroy a lot.
Mark, what are you up there for pests then? Do you just sit out with your gun?
Beat that one.
just on the porch on my rocking chair, just waiting for squirrels coming past. No, a bit like Jess. We've got all sorts. You name it. We've had it from pigeons to rabbits to... There's like this like a pheasant or a French hen or something that keeps jumping over everybody's fences, and it sort of digs about and off it goes and stuff like that. But one thing we had trouble with last year was leather jackets. So that's the larvae of the daddy longlegs, so the crane fly, and they sort of they come flying about, and they lay their eggs in the soil, and these larvae sort of hatch in the soil and cut about in the soil, and you don't know they're there. So you plant out your stuff, and these larvae just eat the roots of the plants, and then your plants die from the top, and you're like, what? Why are my plants dead? And of course you dig the soil up, and all these horrible little sort of looks like a big fat maggot sort of thing squirreling about in the soil. And there's quite a few plots around about mine that had that same issue. So you can get nematodes down for them. So put all nematodes down for them, and it doesn't seem to be as bad this year. Touch wood. But of course, any beds that you're doing no digging, you haven't really got any chance of knowing that they're there because you're not digging the soil. Because if you're digging a normal bed, you'll turf a few of them up when you turn it over, so you know they're there. But no dig, nah, you're on a hiding to nothing with that.
Have you used the nematodes then this season then, Mark? Because I think you've got to keep on reapplying and reapplying. Because I've seen like the nematodes leather jackets ones, and I've used it actually in the polytunnel. Of all places,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can use them twice a year. So there's 2 different times a year you can use the ones for leather jackets, and it's like autumn and springtime. But I can't remember which way around it is. But one of them you've got to use like a double dose because the leather jackets, the larvae, are much bigger, and the other one you just use a single dose. And it's it can get quite expensive because it's about 15 quid for a pack of that nematode. So if you're having to double it up every time, you're up to 30 quid a shot, so it can get quite expensive quite quickly.
Yeah. No, that's money does come into it. Got a great question here, a bit of a one from StewTube is asking, what would you do? You applied for a plot transfer and got the move, but he's got potatoes, onions, peas, beans, broccoli, the whole thing in the ground. Would you dig it out or would you leave it for the next person? Jess, what would you do, Jesse? This is where we find out the real. I'm frightened to go to Audrey. To be honest, with our guns. Jess, what would you do then?
I think some of them I'd dig out. I don't think it would be worth digging out the potatoes. You're just not going to do it. They're just not really possible to dig out like that, are they? You can't replant them when you take them to your new plot.
Say if your potatoes were ready, everything's ready. Let's an imaginary world. Everything, Jess, is like pristine, but you're going to move. You know what I mean?
Then you harvest it all.
Would you?
Definitely. Yeah. No. If it's ready to pick, definitely. It's just like the stuff that's in the ground that you've planted out. But things like, it's probably not worth moving onions, is it? And potatoes, but broccoli, definitely. If they're like ones you've planted out this year, if it's stuff from last year that's due to go that wouldn't move very easily, then no, I'd leave them there. But if it was stuff that I'd only just recently put in, I'm definitely taking them with me. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, that's how she rolls. That's all right. Mark, what would you do, sir?
Yeah, like the potatoes and that, you probably couldn't take them, could you? The onions and stuff, if you're uprooting them, probably the beetroots and stuff like that as well. You might get away with the lettuces, because they'll be quite shallow rooted, and broccoli and things like that. If you put a lot of time and effort into it in your growing, I mean, you could always take like 75% to the new plot and leave 25% for somebody else. Just kind of be nice. Not wanting to sit on the fence, but you could do like a sort of split and leave some there, but take most of it with you, the stuff you wanted.
So, Mark, then let's ask this question. Then, Mark, you've just filled your polytunnel with tomatoes, and it's let's say 4 weeks since you planted them in your polytunnel. Would you dig up your tomatoes and take them?
Well, not if you've seen the state of my tomatoes. I'd leave them for some.
I know. We've got. Can we just imagine? Can we just imagine that you've got lovely tomatoes?
Probably, yeah, like a high value crop, like a Brad's Atomic Grape or something like that. You've put a lot of TLC into it. You've sown your seeds back in sort of March sort of time. You've had your grow lights on. You've brought them on. You've loved them and all that sort of stuff. Aye, that would be going the journey. But I probably wouldn't look to move allotments in May. May's a bit of a crazy month. I think JB's last video talking about like the allotment grind. May's just a bit. It's a bit crazy. Everything comes all at once. Everything getting planted.
It's actually probably not my favourite time. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you've just got to get head down and just kind of
too much, isn't it?
And then start cropping. Like pulling the veg off, and you miss like the little dreamy garden that you're kind of tinkering about with. So.
Yeah.
Jess, would you be the same with your tomatoes? And if they'd been in the ground a month, would you dig them up?
If I thought that they would survive it, I'd take them. If I thought that it would just be me digging them up and then they would really suffer and not do anything, then I would leave them. But I think if I suddenly had to move allotment or was going to move allotment, I mean, I would take everything. I would take the raised beds. I would take the fence. I mean, I've put it in there. I'd take the whole lot. Yeah, anything that I thought could move, I would take, definitely.
Yep. Right. There'll be no cooker if I buy your house then, there'll be no cooker anyway. Where's the bloody sink? Where's the sink? Audrey, what would you do then?
You're scared to ask me, aren't you? You're scared to ask me. Having never had an allotment, but if we were to sell our home and someone that was a gardener was moving in, I would leave everything.
Ooh.
Even the squirrels.
I would definitely leave the squirrels.
Yes. And the gun.
No, I would, because part of me thinks if I've worked that hard to get these little baby plants out and they're happy and they're growing and there was a gardener coming behind me, I would just go, there you go, bad on me for moving at this time of the year. But I'd let it go. Yeah. But again, I don't have an allotment, so that's very different.
Mm-hmm.
But I would not dig stuff out of my backyard. Yeah, I would not dig stuff out.
I do think it's different with a house, though, because somebody's actually buying that off you and they've sort of seen it. With an allotment, what tends to happen is like you leave it and then it's left for a couple of months before the next person takes it over. And the next person who takes it over is likely not going to want things the way they are, and then it's already too late. Nothing's been looked at. That's how it is where we are. I mean, we've got plots on our site, even though there's a 7-year waiting list that have been empty for 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
The turnover is so slow that anything you left there is likely going to die anyway. So you're just kind of leaving it to the wilds.
Well, that would be different. If there wasn't a gardener following me immediately that was going to care for this, yes, I would make sure they're cared for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what about Jess then? What about let's say a polytunnel that you've got, your stanchions going in the ground are cemented in? Would you try and battle to take a polytunnel with you? Because I would like to think I could, to be honest, like a polytunnel. Do you know what I mean? You're talking like a boat polytunnel's close on, hitting £1,000. So concrete or no concrete, I'll be kind of, or maybe just leaving this, the kind of the 4 little poles that are concrete in the ground, just leave it like that and take the rest, the hoops.
Yeah.
But I think I would probably take big stuff like that. Would you, Jess? Would you leave a polytunnel?
Yeah, I mean, same sort of goes. I think if it could move, I would take it with me. But if I was just taking it and it wasn't ever going to be able to put back together again properly, then I would leave it for the next person. Like, I don't know that I would be able to deconstruct my polytunnel that I've got now, the one that I made, because it's all a bit ropey. It's all tied into the ground. I think if I tried to dismantle that, it would never go back together anyway. So I would leave it. But if I thought I could take it with me, I would, if you see what I mean.
Well, I'll ask all three of you this question then. Jess, I'll come to you first then. What's the one thing you would definitely take from your allotment if you were going to move tomorrow?
Everything. I'm taking everything. I'm taking.
She's adamant.
I'm getting an excavator, bagging up the topsoil. The whole lot's coming with me.
the topsoil as well. Just like
I've
granite rock.
It's all coming with me. Yeah.
Mark, what's the kind of the one thing or the many things you would take then? Everything, or just there's the one?
Yeah, I'm with Jess. The whole kit and caboodle's coming. I've spent money on it, so it's getting uplifted. I mean, I've actually thought about moving plot, because that obviously the issues with the flooding where I am. If that ever happens again, I think I'll be a bit cheesed off. But like, I've got a double plot, and behind me there's 2 single plots, and beyond them there's another double plot. Now, there was new people last year took over that other double plot, and I was speaking to my allotment neighbour at the weekend there, and she's not seen them back. And I thought, if they don't come back, if I take that on, then it's not very far to move all my stuff, because I'm just going down a couple of rows, and I've got all the same plot neighbours, because my neighbours around and about are absolutely lovely. They're such nice people. And I thought, well, I'm just on the other side of them, so I've still got the same neighbours, so I could slowly lift and shift everything. So I'd even probably pay like a double allotment fee this year to bank that other plot, and then at the end of the summer, once everything starts dying, then slowly move the stuff up so you're ready for next season to start again. But I don't know if it's free. I need to go in and ask to see if it's free.
You've thought about this, Mark. This is something we've kind of happening. No, just something coming. You know what I mean?
Just a passing win.
You've thought long and hard. Who would you have to ask then, Mark, for this? Is it council?
So no, mine's a private site, so it's part of a garden centre. So the garden centre is called Rook and Glen, and out the back of it's all the allotments. So we've got over 200 plots out the back of this garden centre.
Wow.
So we pay for them, and it's quite good. It's more expensive than council, that's for sure. But we get 10% discount in the garden centre. We can go in and use all the toilet, the facilities like the toilets and stuff like that. So that's pretty good.
Have they got a coffee shop?
They have, and it's cracking. It's really good. There's a lovely coffee shop.
Man.
Wow,
Nice.
See, I'd be always in there with like a million, like the chocolate shortbread kind of million, and a coffee and a cake.
But if you just need a bag of compost, that's brilliant. You just pop in bag of compost in your back of your plot. Yeah, it's just magic.
That's really good. That's been so. What of my questions actually was, Mark, then allotment prices. What I've just paid for mine then about a month ago there now, £101 I paid for mine. What did you pay for yours then, Mark, for your fancy coffee and your cake?
120. So that's for a single plot, and I've got a double one. But it used to be £100, and it's been £100 ever since the allotments have been created. This is the first time they've ever put the price up.
Right.
Just because of the way everything is in the world, the price had to go up. It was
so you're paying double that then.
Aye, but if you think about you divide it by,
you're on a good number with work, Mark. Don't worry.
Well,
a good
exactly,
pension as well.
Pays the bills. But it's a happy place. I mean, what price do you put on that? The time you spend there and your mental health and all that. So
Jess, just out of curiosity, are you more than £101? Are you more than 240? When you say it like that, Mark, it's quite.
It sounds expensive.
If I I don't actually know. It just comes out automatically. I haven't looked at it. I have no idea. It used to be really cheap, like years ago. It was like £35 per half plot, and we've got 3 half plots. So it was under £100 for the full place. And it was like that for years and years and years and years. And then I know it went up a bit, I think, but it was still under £100, I'm sure.
And
Up
is
until
yours council, Jess?
Yeah, council.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
So, Tony, what's happening with the plot that is the one that you walk through all the time, and you planted some stuff there?
And I've tried a few times. I'm going to try this year, but I've tried a few times to kind of get it. You know what I mean? And I presuming, because his answers is no straight away, but he doesn't give us a reason. But I'm presuming it's like one plot, one household. I'm hoping it's one plot, one person, because I'll say, can I put my wife's name down on that one? Do you know what I mean?
But maybe your son's name, because he doesn't really live in your household, right?
Yeah.
He lives most of the year somewhere else.
I'm going to try again, but you know what I mean? I'm just like, any spare veg, I'm just going to put it in there and just see if it grows anyways, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's exactly what Jesse says, though. There's about 6 empty plots, just totally like grassed over wasteland, and yet there's a couple that got behind my wall. It waited like 9, I don't know how many years for it. You know what I mean? The waiting list is ridiculous, but there's plots there going. I mean, granted, the one where I walk through is not the nicest. It's probably the worst plot of everything, but it's a plot. Do you know what I mean? And it was looked after until like last year, so I know.
Well, and all that does is make so much more work for the next person.
Oh, I know. Mm-hmm.
Like the weeds for everyone else.
I mean, it'd be honestly, Audrey, it'd be great content, because I would just do the kind of Charlie Dowden, cover it in cardboard. Do you mean try and get free compost from places and just sit and just plant in like pumpkins and stuff like that for a few years?
Right.
You know, but
yeah. Cover the lawn. Yep.
I will try. Listen, we are there. We are at the top of the hour already.
Wow.
So I'm going to frighten you there now. Jess, what's your tip of the week? No pressure.
I'm actually prepared this time.
Well, Jess, can we have your tip of the week, please?
My tip of the week is when you're picking rocket, if you're growing, or is it called arugula? But rocket plants. When you've got a whole load of them, don't just pick off the leaves, because you end up with really hard stick in there. Just take each plant and snip it off about 1 inch from the bottom, and then go along the row and let the whole lot regrow, and then snip the whole off again, and then you don't get all those hard stalks, and you've just got perfect salad. That's what I've been doing today.
Oh, well, to be honest, that's a great tip, because I do get them hard stalks, and it's just like...
so annoying.
Mm-hmm, definitely, so... Yes. Oh, I think Mark fell off the wagon there, so I'm not sure why Mark's in the green. Audrey, I'll go to Audrey there. Audrey, what do you do for tip of the week?
Probably should think about this before this moment.
Shall I go to Mark?
I think you should.
See what preparation, Jess, is just smooth as out. There you go.
I know. Thank you, Jess.
Mark, tip of the week, Mark.
Mark can't hear us.
All right.
I don't know if you can hear me, but
we can hear you. Loudon, we can hear you.
Oh, I think he's faking it. He just doesn't want to give a tip of the week.
We can hear you, Mark.
Oh, okay. I just had a suggestion for my tip of the week from JB.
All right. Come on then, Audrey.
Always keep your squirrel gun loaded. I think that's awesome.
Audrey, out of everything, I would not have... That shoot them was the best answer. You know what I mean?
Sorry. They have
yes,
wrecked
no, that was good. Well, I don't think Mark's going to actually... I don't know if you can hear us now, Mark, but I think we've... No. He went off, actually. I seen him go off. So anyways, we're there. We're top of the hour. We will see... No, I don't think so. we'll say goodbye anyways. I'll say goodbye. And Jesse, a big thank you for standing in for the big fella's shoes there. It's lovely. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Yep, lovely. Audrey, thank you so much. I will be in touch.
fun.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And I'll have to do language. Mark, thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Yes, sign language.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you. Yay! Right. See you, everyone. Take good care.
Good week.
Bye.
Bye.